If you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the IMAGEN Golf Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by IMAGEN Golf and PXG. All right. Welcome to the podcast today. You know, we spend an awful lot of time, it seems like, talking about the perfect swing, the latest technology, drills, techniques, strategy, course management, and all those are great. But today, I want to talk to you about something that is fundamentally, maybe even more important to your score, believe it or not, than really any of that, and that is your stock shot. That's right. I mean, your stock shot. If you don't have a stock shot, you cannot play your best golf. What is a stock shot? It's simple. It's the one shot shape, the one ball flight, the one trajectory that you hit and that you hit under pressure with an 80 to 85% confidence factor. And it ultimately is your super reliable in the title, I put, something corny like superpower on the course, but it really is, right? And I'm going to tell you why you need to have it, or why having it, I should say, and crucially committing to it is the biggest needle mover for your scoring. All right. So we talked briefly already into the podcast. What is your stock shot? But let's define it just a little bit more, right? It isn't your best shot. That's for sure. Right. It's your most consistent shot. As an example, right? Is it a 2-yard fade? Right. Well, hopefully not for me. It's not, right? Because I like to play a draw. Is it a 5-yard draw? It is. Yep. For me. And that would be fantastic. And by the way, what is a draw? A draw is a ball that starts right of the target, draws back to the target without crossing the line of the target. And you could say the same thing about a fade, right? That 2-yard fade starts away from the target. And for a right-hander, it starts to the left, fades to the target without crossing the target line. Okay. Those are defined as great shots. It could even be something different, right? It could be a low flighted, I don't want to call it a stinger, but for the lack of a better on the podcast, a stinger with your long irons. Okay. If you hit that shot consistently 80 to 85% of the time, then perfect. All right. It's the shot that feels most natural to your current body's movements. Right. And notice I said current. It's not what you're trying to do. It's not what you want to do or what you think about. All right. It's about what you actually execute. It's the one that you don't even have to think about. Right. When you need to execute, when the pressure is on, right? When your friends are watching, when you're when you're on the 9th or 18th hole close to the clubhouse and you start to feel the pressure like I do, right? Or you need a par, the pin is tucked, and this is your shot, right? You need a shot, right? Or it's even the one where you messed up the previous shot, right? And you need a go-to good shot to get you back into the hole. Then that's your stock shot, right? And look, why is it so important? Well, there is a psychological advantage when you have the ability to consistently hit a stock shot as far as your decision making is concerned, right? I mean, when you think about decision making, this is really where as my dad used to say, the magic really happens, right? Golf is a game of managing misses and making decisions, right? And hopefully they are the better decisions or smarter decisions. When you step on a tee box, as an example, if you're equally trying to hit a straight shot, a draw, or a fade, your decision-making process is slow, stressful, and loaded with complexities and impossibilities, right? You wouldn't even do that. But if you had a stock shot, then think about it out loud, right? Everything just simplifies. The target is clear. If you know your stock shot is a fade, you're not trying to hit the ball straight. If you know you're aiming down the left, if as an example, if you're aiming down the left side of the fairway and allowing the ball to move back to the center line, then there you go. You certainly wouldn't, go right down the middle then, right? So there you have it. I mean, the target is way clear. If it's a draw, it's just the opposite, right? I'm not trying to hit a straight shot. If I'm drawing the right down the middle, if I'm drawing the ball, I'm trying to start it about 5-6 yards to the right, make it come back to the center. All right. And by the way, none of the best players and really no good golfers in that for that matter hit straight shots in golf. It just doesn't happen. All right. So I wouldn't worry about it. I would try to figure out, hit whatever, right? But make sure it is your stock shot. All right. The other advantage in the decision making piece of it, dude, you have less self talk. You eliminate that crippling voice in your head. We all have it, right? You got a good voice on your left shoulder and you got a bad voice on your right shoulder from an old movie, right? Should I try to draw it here? The answer is always no if you hit a stock fade, right? I'm always amazed, man. I go on these playing lessons. We step up to the fourth tee and the customer, the golfer I'm working with has hit, fades or slices all day long, the whole dog legs to the left. And I see them aiming or setting up, I should say, and aiming. And I say to them, hey, man, what are we doing here? What's the strategy? And you know where I'm going with this. The strategy is to curve the ball left, go right to left, right? And I'm like, there is not a chance in hell that's going to happen, right? You didn't hit a single shot that did that on the range. You haven't done a single shot 4 holes in or 3 holes in. And on the fourth hole on the tee box, you're miraculously going to draw this ball because the topography of the hole says so. No, you're not, right? You're just not, all right? So if you have that stock shot, you have way less self-talk, right? And with that less self-talk, you have less pressure on you, believe it or not, all right? Let's call it pressure relief. When you know what your tendency is, all right? Let's say you always miss with that push fade. Then you can strategically use that knowledge and you aim for the left rough as an example, knowing your stock shot will likely correct itself back into the fairway, right? Same thing with the draw, just the opposite. You've turned a potential disaster now, right? And an inconsistency into a manageable situation, all right? Look, keep in mind, consistency is not about hitting the ball perfectly. It's about hitting your shots and your shot shape reliably, right? So I know what you're saying. Look, I'm inconsistent, Daniel. I get it, right? I hear it all the time. There isn't a day that goes by, there isn't 3 hours that go by when someone doesn't come to my lesson tee and say I'm inconsistent. But you're more consistent than you think, right? Especially with regards to a shot shape. So how do you find and commit to your stock shot? Well, here's what you do. You analyze those misses and not your pure shots, right? We've all hit that 7-iron where it just dead center of the face. You compress the golf ball. It goes, 20 yards further. It flies, 40 feet higher. And it didn't even feel like you even hit it, off the face of the golf club. We look down at the club and we're like, oh my God, that was amazing, right? We've all hit that shot, right? But if that's not your regular, normal shot, well, then we can't go for that. Just when you say it out loud, it doesn't make sense. So look, go to a range, even better yet, get into a simulator and hit a bunch of balls, right? I like the number, everything in Imagine, we like sevens, right? So hit 3 sets of 7, hit 21 or 28 balls, maybe 4 sets, and truly observe the shape of that shot, right? And I'd throw out the top 10%, right? Whatever your number was, and the bottom 10%. All right. And again, stay away from the perfect ones. Look at all the rest. Is the majority shape a pull, a draw, or a push fade? Right. Don't try to fix that shape per se. I mean, long term, absolutely, we can work on it. We're talking about your stock shot though, right? So we're not trying to fix that during the round or hit around it or hit a different type of shot. We're trying to embrace it. Whatever that majority shape is, that's your natural tendency. And you should adopt that tendency as your stock shot for now. Look, I'm not saying if you're slicing the ball, always play that slice. All right. I guess I am saying that technically when you're looking for your stock shot, but I'm not saying we don't work on trying to change that. What I'm saying is that if you continually, 80% of the time slice the ball, you can't be aiming in the center or the right side of the fairway. You're going to hit it OB. So we got to understand that and we got to play to just that. And look, anybody listening to this call has played with someone that slices the ball, lines up totally left, and somehow banana curves that thing into the center of the fairway, right? It's no fun, but they definitely have a stock shot. There's no doubt about that, right? So there you go. That's how to find your stock shot, right? Number 2, I want you to master the miss. We call this the IMAGEN principle, all right? Once you identify that stock shape, your practice, All right. And everything you do should focus on narrowing that window of that miss. Say that 10 times, right? So what I mean is if you hit a draw, you're not trying to, and you're not practicing how to hit a fade. You're practicing how to make your draw smaller, right? So if you're drawing the ball or curving the ball past the center of the target line, right? And we started the podcast with just that. The best draw is to draw away from, hit away from the target, draw back to the target without crossing that line. Well, if your draw is crossing that line, then you need a smaller or tighter curve. All right. Make sure that draw starts on the right side of the target line all the time, every time. And maybe that target line needs to go a little bit further to the right. All right. And again, we're never trying to hit the ball straight, right? We're trying to hit it with a very predictable curve, right? Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Hey, thanks for listening first and foremost. Handicaps haven't changed in over 35 years for one reason and one reason only. Traditional golf instruction just doesn't work. So if you're serious about getting that swing and game that you've always imagined, take a look at our site, IMAGENGolf.com. Join our members only club. Check out my video series, or even take a virtual or in-person lesson with me. There is no one who's more passionate about making you better in the industry, and I guarantee you'll golf better, guaranteed, or everything is free. And if you do that, then you're going to need to also change your aiming strategy, right? This is the commitment part. As an example, getting back to playing lessons, right? I can't tell you how many people, right, are aiming center of the fairway, center of the green, right? All the time, all the time. And just when you say it out loud, if you're not hitting a straight shot, well, what the heck are we doing? Right? Draw players, you got to aim for the right side, right, of the target, or even the right rough, or even the right sand trap. I'm never a big fan of aiming at a hazard, but there's no real evidence-based factual proof that says there's anything wrong with that. I just don't like to think about it, right? But work the ball back. Fade players, just the opposite. You're aiming to the edge of the target on the left, or even the left rough, and make it work back. But committing to this strategy on every single solitary swing, driver, iron, hybrid, that doesn't matter, right? Wood. This is how your stock shot becomes a routine and not some lucky outcome. But if you're not going to commit to it, if you're not going to change your aiming strategy, if you're not going to try to work on it, then you're just hitting the golf ball and hoping for the best. It's just not going to happen, right? Look, the golf swing, the bottom line is this. Look, your golf swing should be an athletic movement, right? You cannot force that athletic movement of your body into an unnatural position, especially under pressure. It will not happen. In any sport, by the way, it won't happen. It's certainly not going to happen in golf. So by getting a stock shot and understanding what your stock shot is and working on it, you're essentially doing two things. You're cooperating with your most natural, most efficient golf swing here and now, at the moment. Doesn't mean it can't change down the road. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to change it if it's not as good as you want it to be. And you're injecting a certain level of certainty into a game that is totally defined by the uncertainty of your shots, right? So let me say that again. The two things you're doing by adopting a stock shot is, one, you're doing and cooperating with your most natural and most inefficient, your most efficient golf swing, right? So you're using your own biomechanics to your advantage. And the second thing you're doing is you're actually changing the odds, meaning for the good. You're injecting certainty into a game that is totally defined by uncertainty and poor shots, right? That'll allow you to do a couple things. You'll make clearer decisions. You'll manage the golf course better, right? You'll have more fun. And I guarantee you, you will lower your scores. And you'll get the swing in the game you always imagine, as our tagline says all the time. So stop chasing that great shot. Stop chasing that mythical straight shot, for God's sake, right? Identify whatever that curve is in your swing, embrace that curve, and use that curve to take advantage and start playing the golf course. You know, the three stages of golf, right? You go from surviving the course to playing the course to dominating the golf course, right? Wouldn't it be nice to, up your level of game just by doing this, by getting a stock shot, all right? So look, that's all I have today. Thanks for tuning in to the Imagine Golf podcast. But look, before I go, the more I think about it, let me give you a plan, and I'll actually drop this in the comments, right? A system that you can do, or a couple different drills that you can groove your stock shot, like the Imagine practice system, let's call it, right? The first one's a really easy one. You'll need two. I like two alignment sticks. You can do it with really two of anything, but I like alignment sticks. And I like doing this either in a sim with two alignment sticks in the air, meaning you've stuck them into something so they stand straight up, or if you're on a driving range, just stick them in the ground. All right. Um, you're going to take out any club, doesn't matter. I typically like smaller clubs when I'm working on stuff. So, 7, 8, 9 iron, even a wedge, but probably more along your mid irons, right? And this drill here, the gate drill, is going to identify and regulate your start line, right? Because your stock shot must always start on the opposite side of the target from where you want it to finish, right? So you're going to take these alignment sticks. You're going to place them on the ground, forming a small gate. I like to have about 18 inches to 3 feet in front of your ball, right? And the gate should be angled to to ensure that the ball starts exactly where you want it to. If you put it farther away, you really can't even tell um, that where the actual ball is going. It did in fact go through the gate, right? So simply, as we've been talking, the gate should be aimed a few yards right of your target, right? If you're looking for degrees, maybe 5 degrees, open to the target. And for a fade, just the opposite, right? Should be left of the target, a couple yards or about 5 degrees close to the target. All right. Now it's just simply hit a bunch of balls, right? Hit, again, we like sevens, hit 21, hit 28 balls. And the goal is simple. The ball must pass through the gate without touching the sticks. All right. Um, if you really think about it, right? If you're just starting this type of process, the shot shape doesn't even matter yet, right? Because you're focusing your focus, I should say, is 100% on controlling the club face at impact and ensure the ball starts on the correct line. There's a lot of things we can do to make the ball curve, right? But if we can't start on the appropriate line, then we can't do any of those things, right? So this is going to lock in your path and your face relationship to the committed shot, right? So I think it's a really good way to kind of start the whole process of finding or working on that stock shot, all right? Once you've been able to do that, right, now we're going to, start controlling the magnitude of the curve, right, or how much it curves. All right. We want to curve the ball a predictable and repeatable amount. I think it should be anywhere from, 2 yards would be great. 2 to 7 is probably a fair number, right? I like mine to be in the 5 yard range, but I've seen a lot of players hit much more than that. So let's call it 2 to 7 yards. All right. So this time you're going to take an alignment stick on the ground and you're going to point it directly at the target. This is the desired finish line. And you're going to take your stance and aim and your body and your feet parallel to your required starting line, right or left for a fade. So in other words, you're going to turn your body just slightly one way or the next to open or close your stance to make the ball get back to the target line. Okay. So if you're hitting a draw, you're going to close your stance just slightly. If you're hitting a fade, you're going to open it a little bit. Okay. And the same drill. You're going to hit 21, 28 balls. Focus on visualizing the ball landing on that target stick, right? Or back to that target stick without crossing the line. All right. If you're a draw bias or draw focus, feel the club face slightly closed down to the path, right? Promoting that left curve. If you're a fade player, feel that club face opening to the path, right? And promoting that right side or right way curve. All right. Track where that ball lands, man. All right. Relative to the center line. If the curve is too big, too far, as an example, focus on making your path and club face closer together on the next swing, meaning in correlation to each other. We want a narrow corridor of movement or a small miss, right? So we don't want one ball curving, 11 yards, the next one 2, the next one 15, the next one 7. All right. And then lastly, on the course, right, play the shot, not the hole. All right. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're really looking to translate this range work to the course, you need to create consequences and commitments, right? So play 9 holes or just focus on 5 holes as an example. But before every tee shot, verbally commit, and every shot, I should say, to your stock shot. For example, I'm going to aim at the bunker on the right. And I'm going to let my 4-yard draw bring it back to the center. right? I'm going to aim to the left, that shadow to the left there, and I'm going to make it fade back to the right, to the center line without crossing it, right? And that verbal and mental commitment, man, you'll hit tighter shots for sure. All right. And then last but not least, the execution. Well, the execution is simple. All right. The rule of three, we call it Imagine. And this is a non-negotiable, right? Before you set up, right, you're standing behind the ball. We like to do the plan box, play box. So you're in your plan box. Okay. You're about 8 feet, 5 to 8 feet behind the ball, and you must define these. We asked you to define a little bit more, but the rule of three is simple. You must define your start target, right? The right edge of the bunker, as an example, right? The right edge of the water hazard, right? The shadow over there on the right, right? If there's a big shadow, the finish target, i.e., the center of the fairway, the hole, the green, the front side of the green, right there by the, where the rake is. You get the point, right? But start target and finish target, and then the curve. Hey, I'm going to hit a 5-yard mini draw here, or 3-yard mini draw, 5-yard regular draw. All right. We are not lining up straight. There are no straight shots. I'm going to repeat that again. And even if the hole is dead straight, you must aim off center and commit to that stock shape. It builds the routine and trust that you need, right? Just watch one PGA Tour or Live Tour. You're never going to see anybody aim dead straight at the target with their body, club face, and swing path. It just never happens, all right? But look, I assure you, if you consistently execute these three steps, you'll move way beyond, right, just hitting a ball and hoping it's going to go straight and far. And you'll start knowing what that stock shot shape is and what it produces. And essentially what it's going to produce is a low game, all right, lower score game, I should say. All right. So that may, by the way, this stock shot may be different on certain clubs, right? We didn't really get into that, but you may not be able to draw your hybrids as much as you draw your irons and vice versa. So make sure you have a stock shot for your woods, your irons, and your hybrids, and even your driver. Okay, it should be relatively the same, but if it's not, until you work on it and get it to the same, right, or get it to be the same, I should say, make sure you know what that is. All right. I put all these all these drills in the comments below. All right, or in the session notes, and hit me up with any comments. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined. All right, then. That's today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our site, imagengolf.com. Check out our YouTube page at Imagine Golf, and we're on all the social media platforms on the same at Imagine Golf. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined. Hey, Daniel here. If you're looking to get new clubs, you need to consider PXG. And I know what you're thinking. PXG is too expensive, or I'm not good enough to get fitted for clubs. And look, I'm here to tell you that neither is true. PXG is no more expensive than any of the top manufacturers out there, and everyone and anyone will benefit from getting fitted for clubs. And here's the best part. It's literally free. That's right. Getting fit at PXG is free. So when you're ready to get a new driver, new woods, new irons, or even a new putter, simply let me know and I'll help you get the swing and the game you've always imagined with a new set of clubs from PXG.